Welcome to the Dinking and Dishing Podcast. My name is Barbara Brodowski. I am a fitness expert, lifestyle coach, and most important, a pickleball enthusiast. And I'm here today with a very special guest from Kineon. His name is Forrest. I'm super excited about this because our podcast is so passionate about playing pickleball, staying healthy, and basically just a lifestyle of wellness for longevity and autonomy. And when I got my fingers on this tool, it's a tool for longevity and autonomy. So perfect match. So welcome to the show, Forrest.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here and talking to you today. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start like we started your podcast. We talk about pickleball. What's your background? What do you know about pickleball?
I play occasionally. I mostly socially. I'm typically training CrossFit and playing rugby, which is not exactly what you should be doing at 46 years old. If you want to stay as healthy as possible, but we have some really cool tools for recovery and joint health and this type of thing. But I do actually, I mentioned we were a little bit kind of ahead of the call here, that at my local CrossFit box, owners have put a new place in for training at the kind of racket sport. So padel and actually, they have like 5 different kind of racket sports there. So including a number of different things. But I've actually just been getting it back into it because of that, because we've been training by the courts and then coming into play some. And I love to get competitive at almost anything.
Well, yeah, if you're doing CrossFit, that's one thing. And rugby's a whole other level. And it's interesting because when I didn't know much about frozen shoulder until I had it. And I had frozen shoulder probably 10 years ago in my left arm, and then about 5 years ago my right arm. And now in retrospect, it has a lot to do with menopause, perimenopause, and hormones, obviously. But the one thing I say that really helped me, besides a cortisone shot, helped my shoulder was CrossFit. Because of all the flinging of the weights and the hanging from bars and hanging from rings, like it's such it's an amazing workout. But if you really take your time and do it right, it's so good for, I go back to longevity because it moves your body in so many different planes of motion.
Absolutely. And it's been awesome seeing a lot of the kind of pickleball players and the padel players coming to join our CrossFit classes, and then people going both ways, cross-pollinate, get more movement in. And like you said, with the joints, the more you move it, Kineon, actually, our company name is from the Greek for movement. And essentially what we see is when people can reduce inflammation in their kind of different tissue that might have pain or inflammation or chronic diseases like osteoarthritis, when you can remove that, when you can kind of lessen that, they can get back into movement. And movement is really the healer of all of these things more deeply.
I wish I met you when I had frozen shoulder the first time. Because because I'm a Gen Xer, and we talk more about, we're like the loudest generation of all the generations, and now we're all either perimenopausal or menopausal, and we're talking about these things that happened to us. Like, what the F was that? Like, we look in retrospect, like, who was that person? How did that happen? And why did it happen? And now I know, like, my shoulders, and there's very few answers about shoulders when frozen shoulder happens. It's just basically encapsulation. It's obviously inflammation. Yeah. And if I could have just had one of those beautiful red light therapies for my shoulder, it would have healed so much faster. Because frozen shoulder, they say you can do a surgery for it, it's a year, or you can do PT and it's a year, or you can do nothing and it's a year.
Yeah. And also, even with the surgery, you don't know. It's kind of like a meniscus. You're not sure if you're going to come out better or worse. And so they don't really recommend these. But that's exactly the type of thing that we're really here to help with, is increase the blood flow, increase the type 2 collagen proliferation, help regrow a lot of the tissue that may be damaged there from either overuse or, oddly enough, either from overuse or underuse. And that's we see a lot of both of those.
Yep. It's so interesting because I'm going to go back to CrossFit for a second. When boxes started popping up about 10 years ago, it really started to take off, and really everyone kind of put a shingle out in front and called themselves CrossFit. It wasn't as well received as I thought it should have been. And I think it's because, especially my generation again, is like, we tend to be balls to the walls. And if you can't do it the way they're doing it, then don't do it at all. And what I've learned over the past 10 years is, do what you can do and do it really well, and then you'll get better at what you're doing. So then when you keep doing it, you'll be better. But some people think CrossFit's so hard, they just stop. They can't do a pull-up, so they just stop. They can't run a mile. Like the Murph today. Like everyone does the Murph that does CrossFit, but they won't do, I can't run a mile. You can probably walk a mile. And there's no time. Like there's no, like, you know, like you have to write your time on the board.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, it's sometimes like, what was your time? Like, it was a good time. I got to the point where I'm like, I'm just here to move my body and have a really good time.
That's exactly it. Take what works out of it. It's very good programming. It's nice to be able to have when you have good coaches, they're there to help you not be injured, to learn new movement patterns, and to really get better mobility out of your body as well. But I think, you know, there's always a bit of a competitive approach for a lot of people. And it's great if you can take it from a competitive approach and use that as motivation. And like, I'm going to keep up with these guys. Maybe they're doing more weight. Maybe they're doing, you know, something different than me, but I'm still going to keep up with this. That's a great way to use competitive kind of nature. I think the downside for it is whenever you see competition take over a little bit too much, it becomes kind of an ego thing. And it's very similar to just ego lifting with it, whether it's, you know, bodybuilding or Olympic lifting or CrossFit. You know, you see as soon as your ego takes over, you start getting injured more. And it doesn't really matter the type of modality that you're using. Just, you know, keep it within yourself and really approach it with, you know, the idea that this is for being better than I was yesterday versus being better than that person today.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so good. It's interesting too, because I talk a lot about people go from, I say it all the time, from the couch to the court or the car to the court. And there's no in between for them, or there's no physical training anytime throughout the week other than just pickleball. Now, pickleball is a great activity and it's a sport, but it's you'll get hurt playing pickleball if you don't do other things other than pickleball. So let's talk about that really quick, because I see so many common injuries. The number one common injury I see right now that's not acute but is more overuse is tennis elbow.
Yeah.
And I see people get it hit the bottom here, and I see the ones who don't. I see it all around, basically the elbow joint. Tell me, that's the number one question I get. Like, how does it work for that? So let's just start there. How does your product work for that?
It's an amazing question. So the tennis and golf and I guess now pickleball elbow kind of falls into one of those the end of the spectrum where it's an overuse or repetitive stress injury. And so what we see with this is we do a lot of follow-up with our users, and we're a mission-driven company. So our mission is to increase the quality of life for the largest number of people we can in the most measurable way we can. And so we do a lot of follow-up to really understand how this is working with people. And when we launched and were originally just kind of out of the gate, telling people to treat just the local tissue, we saw a resolution of about 85% of these kind of golf and tennis elbow and pickleball elbow cases. And that kind of triggered us to dive a little bit deeper to understand how we could close the gap on the ones that weren't actually performing. And we have a very strong scientific advisory board, kind of both from a clinician standpoint, but also from an academic researcher in the space. And so a whole 6-month program later, we find out that much of the issue that you see with the elbow is with the ones that weren't resolving is from upstream issues in both the shoulder and behind the shoulder blade, between the shoulder blade and the spine, essentially. And I can send some diagrams of this. But what we found was when we told people how to apply it to those areas and then some movement patterns to get back into those moving more effectively and that translating further downstream to the elbow, we got up over 98% resolution with this.
Wow.
So
it's so funny you say that, because when I had my first frozen shoulder, I went to the doctor for tennis, like for forearm. It hurt so bad, and I wasn't doing anything but just working out, like just lifting weights and stuff. And it's funny, I found out that that's radiating pain. It was radiating from my shoulder. Now I know what tennis elbow feels like. It feels different than no, I'm lying. It's similar. But this one, I know why I'm getting it, because I'm freaking swinging a paddle around for 2.5 hours every single day. This one just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if someone had frozen shoulder, you would strap. I wish I had my strap here, and it's in my husband's truck. You have it.
I got it here. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, you would just strap that on your shoulder 10 minutes a day.
That's right. 10 to 15.
10 to 15.
And if you can do it twice a day, nice. Even better. The main thing is don't let it push you outside of trying to do it twice a day and then missing days because of that versus just doing it, for sure 15 minutes a day.
Okay.
The for sure 15 minutes a day from a consistency standpoint, the outcomes are way better.
Okay.
But yeah, you just strap it around the shoulder with kind of this horizontal one in the armpit. And because it's attacking the joint from 3 different angles, you get this crossover in the middle in that synovial capsule that really, really helps reducing that inflammation. And when you can reduce the inflammation, it helps regrow tissue. So what happens is you may have some level of tissue degradation, and we see this a lot with the knees. It's actually better cataloged. It's the same process with the shoulders, but it's better cataloged with the knees from a medical research standpoint. There's a homeostasis in your body. And so when you're growing tissue and degrading tissue at the same pace, then you just keep the same level of tissue. When you have increased levels of inflammation from a sprain, from an old injury in that joint, what you see is that goes out of whack. And so you start growing the tissue too slowly and you start degrading the tissue too quickly. And so what that does is this is really the kind of the prime driver of adult onset, especially early onset osteoarthritis. And it's just that soft tissue around your cartilage, around your knee joints or your shoulder joints, degrading too fast and then starting to have little thin holes in it until you have it just bone on bone. And when you can get ahead of that, you can actually reduce the inflammation and get that back to where you're growing more until it gets back to like the level of cartilage. So this is essentially the best way to replace your cartilage. There's a couple of things that actually work really effectively with it. You increase the level of type 2 collagen proliferation and of chondroblast proliferation. So you're going to grow that tissue faster. It's, faster is relative. It's still soft tissue. It's not going to kind of grow overnight. So it takes some months of treatment to be able to do that. You can increase that pace with different types of treatments, like there are blood flow restriction cuffs that can actually help you aggregate more blood in the area. And we interact with the blood, especially with the infrared lasers, very effectively. And so that's going to increase the pace of that. You can do stem cell injections. Mesenchymal stem cells are very effective. And the lasers actually protect the stem cells so that they proliferate faster, and they self-select into the mesenchymal stem cells. Just means that they can self-select into any type of cell. They self-select into chondroblasts, which is the fastest growing cells in your cartilage, at a much higher rate. So double-digit percentages higher rate. And the last thing is there's also types of blood injections, and I'm thinking the acronym, not the actual term now, but essentially you can have blood drawn from your body and then spun and then re-injected. And this is incredibly effective with when you pair it with the lasers as well. So we work with a number of different longevity clinics around the world. We're kind of it'll be expanding out as a program for us, but we're in with kind of the large ones or the kind of the more visible ones right now, but it's going to be expanding out kind of. I think we've got 500 different clinics in, and it'll be something like 5,000 by the end of the year.
That's amazing.
Fast growing program, and it's really helpful because these doctors can actually help advise you as to when and how to use it directly after these type of interventions as well.
I think it's the frustrating part for a lot of pickleball players or athletes or aging athletes, or someone like my dad is a great example. My dad's 82, had a full knee replacement last year. He's bone on his other knee, and he's 82 and a half, and he's like, I don't want to do it again. It's really, and he plays pickleball probably 7 times a week. So he's super fit for an 82-year-old man. But something like this, if it was more commonplace to help, number one, I want to say prophylactic, but it's preventative. It's going to help things from getting worse. So then you won't maybe have to have that stupid knee replacement, which is, and some people get a knee replacement and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't, they get no relief still.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a crapshoot.
Anytime you have a surgery like that, there's always traumatic tissue damage in the area. So I would say if you can, get him a device, or we're happy to send one out to him, but get him to use that on the knee. One thing that's been an under kind of educated piece of what happens with laser therapy is when you are recovering from traumatic tissue damage, often there are scars and scar tissue involved. When you can apply particularly the infrared lasers to this, the scar tissue is going to be much, much more similar to the original tissue. Wow. So less, like more pliable, less stiff, smaller. We have people who've been using this and testing for a couple of years now on things like C-section scars and a number of different scars. From like visible scars are so much reduced, it's crazy. But the more important part is if you're treating this with an area where there have been kind of titanium implants and these type of things, there's a couple of different metrics that are tracked in the literature about the surface area of the bone bonding with the titanium. Mm-hmm. And so with implants, this is a really, really big boost for how well that sits in. And then also reducing the level of ongoing chronic inflammation that comes out of that traumatic tissue damage is really powerful, not just for the joint, but that inflammation doesn't stay local. And so what we see with this is that it actually damages and continues to damage as you kind of trickle it out of that old injury, the regional cardiovascular delivery. Mm-hmm. So we've seen guys, this was with, the research started with NFL players that we work with, where 10 years later, they've rehabbed, they've gone back in, they've played at the highest level in the world. Mm-hmm. Like obviously the muscles, the joints are kind of doing okay, but 10 years later, the quad above the unhealthy or the surgery, the post-surgery knee is 1 to 2 degrees colder because the cardiovascular system in that area, that blood delivery system is impaired because of that leaking inflammation. Jeez. And the one step further in that is it doesn't stay in the region either. It actually impacts the entire cardiovascular endothelial system, and you end up with a lot stiffer and more dangerous, because really what drives a lot of heart issues from a heart disease standpoint is not necessarily the cholesterol or these other kind of pieces. It's just the stiffening of those blood vessels. And
it's not the eggs you're eating. It's not the eggs.
No, it's really not.
We say that.
I wish
the eggs.
The Ansel Keys thing has just misled so many people. But
I know.
This is one of the best ways in the world to be able to reverse that. So when you're able to treat kind of cardiovascular tissue in your body, you increase the level of pliability and that blood flow delivery, where we were seeing that kind of 1 to 2 degree difference from a thermal scan, resolves itself within about 5 or 6 weeks. And so it's an amazing tool for just increasing general cardiovascular health. And I'll actually just give you one quick, just in case people are interested as to how, what's one good way we can use that.
Yeah.
This is something that I started doing daily in a program that we were starting with a Japanese lab. I put these 2 vertical ones over the kind of largest and most accessible blood vessels in the body, coming through your neck. I do that for 15 minutes every morning, and I do it over my lower abdomen, about an inch below my navel. And this is part of what they refer to as the proximal priority therapy. Mm-hmm. The impact for cardiovascular tissue is insanely good. The impact for your brain and neurochemicals, so neurotransmitters are generated both in your brain and in your gut. Mm-hmm. One of the things we were experimenting with on this protocol when we put it together with the lab was how can we get the most, if somebody's not injured, what can they do to get the most use out of our device? And the cardiovascular...
That was I had that. You were one step ahead of all of my questions. That was my question too. Like, what if, okay, keep going. That's awesome.
So my own personal experience with it, which lines up with the studies, is the immune impact is insanely good. I haven't been sick in the year plus since we started doing this. I got 2 kids. They drag in stuff from school all the time. It used to be they would drag it in, and then we would get it, and then 2 weeks later it'd be cleared through. Haven't been sick in this entire time. Okay. And the second thing is the neurotransmitter and the mood uplift. And this is actually something that they call affect in the research around this. But essentially, after about 12 or 14 days, after about 2 weeks, you just feel great. And it's one of those ones where once you kind of get past that, I never travel without this. I used to kind of only carry it when I was traveling if I was going to be going to a competition for rugby or CrossFit or something like this. I travel with the device and use it every day now, just because you really notice it. Like after about 3 or 4 days of not doing it, you can notice that your mood just comes back down, and you're less energetic and less kind of on the ball and aware and focused. And so for me, it's been life-changing because of that. So this is something that people can consider trying.
Not off topic, but towards that. So for me, it feels like it's a complete, I love stuff like this because it's a hack. It's a complete wellness hack. It's like, if you could just do this, then you'll experience this. Is it, because in fitness right now, well, hopefully that's passed in the new bill that's going through Congress. It's called the Fit Act, and they're trying to allow you to use your health savings account for gym memberships. Would this be something you can use with your health savings account? Could you,
Absolutely, yes. It's
yes.
both on our
Okay.
site and on Amazon, and it is really like impactful. One of the things that we have kind of an open, I guess, beef is maybe the right way to say that, with the pharmaceutical kind of industry about is when you have a factory, and this is going to be sound like a silly analogy to start, but hopefully it resonates. When you have a factory and you have poor products coming off the line, you don't spend your time going to go take those poor products and focus all of your time on trying to just fix those.
Right.
You try to spend your time fixing in the furthest way upstream that you can the foundational process that
Yes.
created that bad product.
Yep.
And I think we see a lot of things from pharmaceutical drug discovery right now, which is really kind of targeting stroke and cardiovascular disease and this and this and this. And these are the poor products that happen when you have a poor metabolic health. If you can target your metabolic health with movement, with light therapy, with better diet, we're actually bringing out a mitochondrial kind of support supplement that works synergistically with light therapy, specifically for targeting mitochondrial function. And it doubles, once you kind of layer them together, it doubles the ATP output from your mitochondria. So that's measurable difference in how your cells are generating energy, how you're able to heal, how you can reduce oxidative stress. And that's, for us as a company, that's the best way that you can, like you said, like a prophylactic or preventative way. Don't wait until you have the osteoarthritis.
Right.
Don't wait until you have the stroke. Start fixing these things that are upstream. And not only do you not have these negative disease outcomes, you actually see a better lift in your cognitive performance, your memory, really extending out the health span that people have. The good years that people have in life is so much more possible now with the technology that exists than it ever has been in the past. And it's really exciting because of that.
I always talk about making to be a healthy person holistically. Start simple. Are you drinking enough water? Okay, got the water down. Are you getting enough sleep? Okay, check. Are you moving your body? Not even working out. Are you just moving your body? Not sitting on the couch all day? Check. And then there's things like this you can add that are still so easy. So easy. If you can get someone feeling better, then they will move better. If you get them feeling better, they'll move better. But they're not going to feel better until they get a couple of things done first. And it's always going to be water, sleep, and movement. And of course, it's diet. But I don't even worry about the diet sometimes until we get the water, the sleep, and just walk. Just walk. In the 10,000 steps a day. Listen, try if you want to. Try to get. You tell someone 10,000 steps a day, and they're only getting 3 right now. They'll be like, I can't. So get to 5. Like these tiny little micro adjustments that people can make in their lifestyle, and something like this is such an easy tool. When you're we're so sedentary. I always say that and I have a stand-up desk, and I kind of go up and down on it, because sitting is the new smoking, and I also is the new smoking. So I had a teacher one time that said smoking is a passive way to do nothing. It's a casual way to do nothing. So he said, if you see someone standing in a park and they're smoking a cigarette, they're not as suspicious because they're actually doing something.
Yeah.
So I feel like drinking alcohol now has become a casual way to do nothing. And there's so many things that's happened over the past 10 years that's changed our society so much. And if we can get them to move more, sleep better, cut out the alcohol, because alcohol has become something that's so pervasive in our society now, because post-pandemic especially, it's just a casual way to do nothing. If you're bored at home, you'll have a drink. And so if you can make these little micro adjustments using that tool right there, you're going to feel better. When you start feeling, you'll move better. When you move better, your life will be better. Then we'll start talking about maybe only have 1 beer instead of 4. You're like, But
no, you nailed it.
Little tiny tools like this make a difference. And something you said too is interesting to me, because you use a lot of big scientific words. And but you broke it down in a way that's easy to follow. So I don't think anyone's gonna be like, what? No, you layered it for us so we can understand it. But I go back to people need to have a like an assessment of their lifestyle. It feels like too, because like you said, like if you have a pain in your forearm, it's radiating from probably from your shoulder, or your back, like you're right between your shoulder. I go like this, right between your shoulder blades, and like want to stick your elbow in between your
Yeah.
shoulder blades and rub it there. It's happening from there, but people don't know what they don't know, and the body is so amazing at accommodating. Like our body is the most amazing thing on the planet, obviously, because if your right shoulder is kind of hurt, then your forearm will pick up the slack. If your right knee is hurt, your butt or your calf will pick up the slack. Like it's always making these. It'll find the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And you don't know that's happening. So if you use this prophylactically, I love that word. I don't know why I'm using it so much today. If you use this tool as a preventative mechanism, I think that too would be a solution for these muscle imbalances. Because if you're kind of limping on your knee and you don't know why, try to get that knee to get fixed, and I'll guarantee you your back's going to feel better.
That's 100%. That's it. You've absolutely nailed it. Really, especially with our kind of older users, you have a lifetime of things, of injuries and little niggles and hurts that you've built in and that you're working around.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step to getting kind of back out of those is recognizing that they're there, and then make a 1% improvement. You don't, like you said, if you're doing 3,000 steps today, do 3,030 tomorrow. Don't go to 10,000 immediately.
Yes.
Walk yourself into it.
Yep. I think that's my biggest problem with my industry in general is that we set aside these targets that are just random sometimes. Like, I don't know who came up with 10,000 steps. I don't think there's any science behind it, but it's a good goal. So they just kind of probably threw it out there, and everyone thinks it has to be 10,000, so you feel like a failure if you do 8,000. No, actually 8,000 is a lot of steps. It's not bad. Like it's like, so everyone needs to just settle down a tiny bit. Let me ask you one more question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a client, and she got one of those gel shots in her knees. I think she's pretty much bone on bone right now. But she's been getting those gel shots in her knees, and she does not want to get a knee replacement. She told me just today when I started at the court, she's going to do stem cell. So for someone like her, this tool with the stem cell would be like the crescendo of, okay.
Yes, 100%. And the stem cells work really well for this. And the other one that we see a lot of people using is platelet-rich plasma injections as well. But with the stem cells, it's a whole different level. And I'm happy to send you through. We do a lot of the medical kind of dives on this. But I think we have a summary kind of discussing the existing state-of-the-art. Okay, and particularly for stem cells, it's so effective, and we do see people who are not quite to bone on bone, but like really kind of have lost a lot of the cartilage and soft tissue there, turn that around completely with the stem cell plus photobiomodulation combination. Okay. And it's And
it's not going to happen overnight. Like, I think people need to understand too. I think people want to go right away to like surgery because it's like. Yeah. Just get the surgery and you have 6 months until it'll be fixed. But like the risk to me right now, especially with an older pop like my dad, like 82, 83 next year, and getting a full knee replacement, just doesn't seem like the smartest thing to do right now because he's still got a lot of life left in him. But anytime you go under, it's just a scary proposition. So this is the stuff. And if we go back to the pharmaceutical company, this is the stuff that I don't say, I'm not all doctors, because I know some amazing doctors, but this is the type of stuff that should be general knowledge, no different than like I'm on the hormone replacement ban we give women too. Like if you can get HRT at a younger age, not post-menopause, your lifespan is actually increased remarkably because of your brain health and your cardiovascular health and there's osteoporosis is actually, there's so many things that happens, but there's some old studies from 1972 that people still preach from. So the medicalist needs to get together and talk more about, these are the things that work without writing a prescription for. You know, people just like that little prescription on a pound, like go take this, you'll be fine. You can take that, and you're going to be masking whatever it is. You're not making it better. You're just masking it. This actually will heal it.
You are all over it. So we use the the idea or the concept of taking the pharmaceuticals is kind of like taking the batteries out of your smoke detector. Okay. It's going to stop beeping. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to feel that pain, but the fire's still going. Right. So the fire is still burning your kitchen down. And you need to do something about these fundamental problems that inflammation presents to your body, because blocking the pain is just here to signal you that there is a problem here.
Yeah.
We need to go in and deal with the fundamental mechanisms that are actually causing this. The problem for that is that there just haven't been that many great tools. And again, it's an exciting time to be alive, because we're just seeing more and more of this that's coming around, and people are trying to get towards the preventative side of things. Unfortunately, and I agree with you on the doctor side. I think one of the things that we've kind of ascribed this to with the physicians that we work with is a lot of it is also just inertia. I might be going to see a 60-year-old doctor who did his education 35 years ago with a 20-year-old book. And oh
my gosh,
and so that kind of carries through to and then you just take that and multiply it across the entire system. I don't think it's necessarily, I'm not a conspiracy theorist in general. I don't think it's necessarily ill intent. I haven't met any medical professionals who have really a nasty ill intent. I think it's just an inertia thing. And I think it's also something where the incentives, particularly for the commercialization around pharmaceuticals, it's a very effective way to make money. If you're going back to our factory analogy, fixing all of these poor products that come off the line makes you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Going to go fix what built those poor products, it means you're going to generate less from an intervention standpoint. But systemically, again, I think it's going to require companies like Kineon that are more mission driven. We don't measure ourselves on kind of the top line revenue or our exit or anything like this. We measure ourselves on quality of life changes, and then the number of people we're able to kind of make these for. And so it makes it harder to measure it, but it means that you're putting your attention on something that's going to have the biggest systemic impact versus just trying to sweep up broken products and again, commercialize that effectively, which is where the system is right now, I think.
I am such a fan, and I was a fan before, but you answered my questions even before I asked it, because my big thing too was because I, knock on wood, like I really train hard to not get hurt. Like I really train for longevity. So when I receive the tool, I use it on my forearm, because I have a little bit of something going on. There's like everyone does, and I'm really working on stretching it and stuff. But my questions were, how can I use this tool? Can I use this tool so shoulder injuries for pickleball? That's a big one. Actually acute, it's a great example, and I know I got to go, but I've broken my leg twice, my left ankle twice. I always joke it's the weakest link in my body. It's like my weakest link. If I roll an ankle, so something like that, prophylactically, I would use it preventatively on my ankle, because my ankle's strong. I use a balance board. I do all the things. Like I'm on a balance board to keep that communication from my brain to my ankle going. But a tool like this would actually help prevent an ankle roll.
100%. Yes, and we see it and recover even faster. So like we're using these with NBA players who roll the ankles quite a lot. Yeah. High ankle sprain can keep you out for a month. We can get them back on the court within days, and it's just like life changing for people. For some reason, we have, so just from an expectation standpoint, things for some reason, and it's less tissue on the hands. So when you have less tissue, we just have less to interact with the light. So things like osteoarthritis of the hands have been a little bit longer from an expectation standpoint, something like 5 to 7 weeks from a response standpoint. But with ankles, for whatever reason, there's still not a huge amount of tissue there, but they've been responding amazingly. So with high ankle sprains, with broken ankles, with Achilles tendonitis, with Achilles surgery, so you have a ruptured Achilles, being able to use it on that, plantar fasciitis, the feet have just been is super responsive for all of these pathologies with these devices.
The number one injury for men is blown Achilles tendons. And,
oh, wow. And
it's a couple of reasons. I think one is if they're on any statin, that's number one. Yeah. It weakens it. And number two, if you've been on an antibiotic, I think it's Cipro, it's an antibiotic that actually weakens your tendons. That's another one. And you could be on it any time in your life, I guess. It has an effect for the rest of your life that weakens your ligaments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then also I think that men, what they do first, they don't think they got to stretch their Achilles tendon before they play. I'm like, you're telling it to stretch. Like, tell it to jump or tell it to bounce. Like, tell it what you're going to do. Don't stand and hold a long Achilles tendon stretch thinking, but now you're just telling it. That's the only thing they know, though. So they're just telling it to stretch. Like, no, tell it to pop. Like tell it to jump, to make that Golgi reflex kind of go in and out, So I feel like a one-man army, and now I have you on my side as well. I have a backup.
Anytime.
And I've had tons on my podcast. We have the same philosophy. It's just getting out to the general population you know, and it has to be done through social media, obviously, because it's not going to be on the nightly news. But I'm so happy you're on my podcast. We went long. It was so good. I could talk to you forever, by the way. Like I could go on and on and on because you're such an intriguing person.
Likewise. This is great. We'll have to do it again sometime
Yeah,
soon.
we'll have to do it. So I'm going to get my tool from my husband's truck. I'm not using it on my shoulders. And then it's funny because I was at my girlfriend's son's basketball game on Saturday. He did a 3-pointer, came down and rolled his ankle and acute swelling. And I told Rachel, I'm like, we have to get him the tool. We have to get him the tool right away. Okay.
He's gonna be shocked. Like that's
He's 16.
One of the ones where
like these young kids, they're like baby giraffes. I always say they grow so much from one summer to the next that they don't think they know their space and time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it happens. And also just with shooting the threes, I was a basketball player as well. You get people kind of sliding up under you, and most of the time unintentionally, and it's just
exactly
it's awful.
Yeah,
but definitely. Yeah, if you can, let me know how it goes with his ankle, because that's one of the ones where we've seen like people are just like shocked that like, holy moly, that was like that, that turned it around in no time. So I'd love to hear how it goes for him.
I will force. It's been such a pleasure. We'll have to do this again because I know my audience can have tons of questions about this, and I'll put all of the show notes. I'll put all of the facts in the show notes. I also have a link if you want to buy one, and I know people always ask me how to get them. There's an Amazon link. They're super easy to purchase, you guys. It's not even. There's no big heavy process to get your hands on these. Like they're out there for freaking everybody right now. So let's do it. So I appreciate you so much, Forrest.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate it as well. That was such an awesome discussion.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. Bye.
Have a great day.